Yes. Okay. Good morning. Hello. Good afternoon. Happy lunchtime. Can you say that? Is that a thing anymore?
You said it.
I mean, if people have lunch at their desk, does it count? Like, is it like lunchtime?
Happy lunch.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's how it,
Cool.
yeah, that's how you should say it. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Cool. Well, if you're joining us, welcome. If let us know where you're watching from. I don't know who Nick knows, so I'm always curious to see who knows who. Oh, it's fun because sometimes some
Do I
people
have,
come
do
to
I have
my life and
friends?
I have no
Like,
idea who they are. Hmm.
can't wait to see who's around.
Yeah. I mean, there's like a 30-second delay, so we're just going to kill time a little bit while it's staying up. Um, but I'm really glad that we're doing this together. Oh, we're live now. Okay, I just got it. Yeah, I'm really happy to have you. I'm really happy that you accepted. You were very eager to do this too.
Absolutely. What a great first meeting we had, though. What a great
I
lunch.
know.
Love that.
I like meeting random people on the internet, and then it kind of just clicks sometimes. Okay, we have a couple of people. We have Phil Bouchard from Montreal. Hello, Phil. We have
Hmm.
Melanie Sherbrooke. Warren from
Hey,
Ottawa.
Melanie.
Oh,
Hmm.
wow. Okay, there's a lot of people here. Wow. Okay. Robert, Toronto,
Hey, Bobby
Vancouver,
boy.
David. Okay, I can't keep track. It's coming in too fast. What is happening? Maria. We have Toronto again, Mathilde, Montreal, Pierre in
All right.
France, David, Montreal again, someone in Brussels too.
Fantastic.
A lot of people. Cool.
Wow, that we're that
Yeah.
interesting. Let's
I mean, look,
let's get this done. All
no,
right.
but I mean, for real, this is fun because like you um just messaged me out of the blue, I think. And you
That's
were
right.
like, you look cool, let's go have lunch kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, let's just do that.
Well,
And it
here's
was a
the
good
thing.
lunch.
You're the one who's like when you posted that thing about, mental wellness and the meltdown that you had at some point and how you feel nowadays, etc., and how you rebuild yourself. I felt really compelled because a lot of people go through these things, right? But a lot of people hide with their shame, hide with their struggles, hide with their pain, hide with their
Yeah.
all the challenges that they have. And I thought, hey, that's refreshing. Somebody that goes out there being straight about it, being very honest about it, very candid about how tough it is and how tough it was for
Yeah.
you. And I thought, I need to meet that girl. And I just loved it.
Yeah, but I mean, I appreciated that because I think, um, I mean, especially, and I'm not like saying this to be sexist, but I feel like it's more common that you're going to see women be more open about it, and most men typically aren't. Um,
Yep. Still a very, very big problem in entrepreneurship and in the startup world is really worse. There's an expectation, like we always like you're not sexist. I don't think it's sexist. I mean, it's a yes,
I'm
it's
pointing out,
generalization, but there's a difference. There truly is, because there is a hidden expectation that men should be strong, men shouldn't cry, men should be like whatever you throw at them, they should be very strong and go through all this and not say a word and be very good. But you know what? Like what got me really into this, what really got me into mental wellness is I would after I mean we didn't talk about the start of everything, but
we can go back
after
to that
the
after.
Sensio, yeah, after the Sensio meltdown, I was for a few years I was like really struggling and figuring out where I'm going and what I'm doing and what I should be doing and what's the rest of my life. And it's very challenging to come to that point in your life when you've created something from nothing, took it public, been at the forefront of an industry revolution, and all of a sudden, boom, it's the end. And it's identity challenging. It redefines you, and you don't know where you're at. You don't have any. And on top of that, you need to continue. You need to move on. And but 3 years after the end of Sensio, had my former CFO, and I always talk about it, my former CFO and very, very dear friend committed suicide. And it was related to this. He was obviously a man. a man who had a very hard time talking about it, a very hard time accepting the fact that it failed under his watch. He
Mm,
felt totally guilty, totally responsible, did not know how to handle it, and it led
yeah.
to the unthinkable. So I mean, like, this is the extreme side of things, but
Yeah.
that's how much of the daily grind, like how much of a toll the daily grind takes on founders and on their teams. And this is something that needs to be talked about.
Yeah. That's interesting. I mean, so because you mentioned, you briefly touched, so you were involved in a startup, in a company that went
Yeah.
public, and then you ran that company publicly for a number of years. And I
Yep.
think from what I remember from our conversation, you said there was kind of like market trends that shifted, and you guys weren't really able to follow that trend, and which eventually led to everything collapsing. Can you touch a
Yep.
bit more about that? Like, what was your experience
Yeah.
before, and what got you there?
Yeah. So, I was like, forever I've been the biggest geek. And
Yeah.
I left science and I went to the university. I went into business administration, and I studied in finance because I didn't understand that world. And I wanted to know how it worked because I thought, well, honestly, I thought money was ugly.
Yeah.
And I still have a little bit of that in the back of my mind. I
Yeah.
think that money can be ugly. It's not necessarily ugly, but it can be ugly. The world of money is not that great. But at the end of the day, it's a necessary tool. And I wanted to
Yeah.
study that. And I went to university in finance. And, after a few years in banking, I worked for a Hong Kong bank. Then I came back to Montreal, etc. And I decided, I was fed up. I was working for a big organization. I thought, oh my God, this is so slow. The changes take forever. I need to get out of there. And I started this startup in 1999. At that time, it wasn't like that all that big. The
Or the bubble.
ecosystem that exists, right? It was before the dot-com bubble. There was a beginning of an understanding of what VCs should be doing and what it was. But I mean, there were no rules. There was no lingo. There was not like pre-seed, seed, A, B, and nothing of the sort existed. It was more of a far west. Let's find people that have money and let's try to get them build
Yeah.
something, right? So started from this and went through the dot-com bubble, survived it somehow. It was super challenging. Then
Hmm.
by 2005, something happened. 3D became a thing again in the consumer market. And that's like 3D has been knowing waves. No, not a lot of people know that, but ever since the 1850s, like 1850, 3D has been making major comebacks in the consumer market.
That's
People were watching
crazy.
3D pictures in their homes, and it
That's
was
the
like the
year
craziest
we
thing.
started stamps.
I know. I mean, it's insane.
Just for a reference, that's a
3D
long time ago.
3D 3D predates photography.
Hmm.
When they started with drawings. It predates photography. It's really mad. But anyways, by that time, by 2005, started being big, and we thought, we need to become the Dolby of 3D. We got some money. We became a public company, not because there was no money around, and the big vision really got people's attention. So we became public. We were
And that
able
was
to
the
grow the
reason
company.
for the going public move, was we need money to fund ourselves to keep growing.
Yeah, it was more of a we have, well, not to keep going. We had a huge vision on becoming the standard for 3D. Like
Sure.
our format, we were at by that time, I think we were already in the DVD format. We were accepted. Like Sensio Hi-Fi 3D to date is the only proprietary format on the DVD standard, which was
Mm.
pretty crazy if you think about it. Like a small micro tech company from Montreal becoming a global standard for 3D distribution. It
Hmm.
was really like the people that started that company were not uh, experts in the field. We were just fundamentally stupidly determined people that wanted to bring a vision to fruition. And
Yeah.
we went all in, right? So by 2005, it was a question of saying, okay, let's fund this, let's build a team, let's scale that thing, and let's go all out. And we thought, it will take some time to be inside consumer products, but in the meantime, we're going to do live 3D in theaters. And we did. So we signed deals with the FIFA. We did the World Cup in 2010 live in theaters globally, worldwide. It's the only event that was done that way. Games were distributed through the planet, and we had partner up with FIFA,
Amazing.
Eutelsat. I mean, it was an amazing experience.
Mhm.
So we did all these things. By when 3D TV craze happened, then
Yeah.
our stock went through the roof. Our
Yeah.
valuation was like stupidly crazy, and by that time, we were able to sign deals with TV manufacturers, etc.
Yeah.
But after the whole hype, it started going down, and we made one
Mhm.
crucial mistake. We decided to launch a service called 3D Go, which was video on demand on the 3D TVs, on
Mhm.
smart 3D TVs. So it had a
Okay.
little 3D Go logo at the bottom, and people could rent 3D
Hmm.
movies on this, and it
Okay.
was really slick and good. But what happened was we launched 1 year late. We made one crucial mistake. I won't go into details, but we
Yeah.
launched 1 year late, and by that time 3D TV manufacturers were already over with pushing and supporting 3D. So
Mm.
we were there with a fantastic service, a loyal fan base, people that loved it, but we had huge minimum guarantees to pay the studios to be able to show films by Disney, Warner, Fox, all the big guys. We had all their things, their movies, all their content on our service, but we had to pay them huge amounts of money, but we didn't have the support that we expected from the TV manufacturers to help us put it on the remote control, put it on the TV box, put it
Mhm.
everywhere to help us push the consumers. So our revenues were growing, usage was growing, people were coming back, but it was never at the level that we needed to meet the
Yeah.
minimum guarantees. And then we had to shut down.
And
So
how?
that's, yeah,
Yeah.
go
Well,
ahead.
I was gonna say, how did that happen? Like, what was the? Because I mean, we kind of briefly talked about it, but my experience of this at a completely different scale was very quick. It's like, well, how was your experience of like realizing we're fucked and
Yeah,
the whole thing being kind of done?
yeah. Well, it took a few, like it wasn't instantaneous, right? So remember, public company, we have public obligations, and we
Yeah.
cannot, like, there are things that we can talk about, things we cannot talk about, like we and a lot of things that you cannot talk about because it could create some transactions on
Yeah.
on the stock, and then you'd be personally liable. So everything had to be managed very carefully with our lawyers, with our board, and we had to enter a process trying to figure out if we could sell the company early, if we could sell some assets, or if we could find another financing, etc. I mean,
Yeah.
there were plans. There were, like, we had to be very careful, because if you don't do things by the book, then everybody's can be
Yeah.
sued. And
Mhm.
so it took uh, quite a few months. I mean, we knew that things were challenging, and we were very open about it, and about 3D TVs not selling, but not selling as much, etc. We were
Yeah.
very straightforward about it, but at the same time, we always we were, because throughout our history there were
Mhm.
always hurdles. Like
Yeah.
when we had our first product was a set-top box. We were selling a very high-end set-top box for high-end home theaters. People that spend minimum $30,000 at that time for a home
Yeah.
theater,
The
upwards
people
of
who
one
have
million.
bowling alleys in their basement.
Pretty much. I mean, some of the designs are really crazy. Star Trek, Star Wars, and like they're nuts. They're like
Yeah.
there's a little booklet every year that they release at CEDIA, which is a trade show for home theaters, high end home theaters, and you can see like the upwards of 1 million. And I mean, it's
Mm.
just crazy projects. But
That's
anyways,
crazy.
we were selling to these guys, and we managed, we grind our way into the studios, and we were able to get to Robert Rodriguez, to people here from Hybrid that did special effects for Spy Kids. So we got to Robert Rodriguez called Disney and said, I want my movie, or yeah, I think it was Disney, and said wanted distributed in the Sensio Hi-Fi 3D format, and that's how we got our first studio release, right? So
I have
it's
a
like a
question.
lot of work and a lot of
Yeah.
grinding, and so we got that thing right, but we were slowly but surely getting up and up and up and up, and all of a sudden the studios call us and they say, well, sorry guys, we cannot give you the titles anymore. You're not allowed. We don't give you the rights anymore because Chicken Little went out in the theaters, and we've got big plans for 3D now. And
I remember that.
well, tough luck. So here we were,
Yeah.
like, okay, no more movies. We cannot sell anymore in the home theater market. Our product is pretty much fucked. So how do we move
Mhm.
forward, right? So we've been used to facing this kind of adversity at different times, conditions that
Yeah.
change in the market, and all of a sudden you have to react. You have to do something. You know, it was a blessing in disguise. We were able to move to the licensing model, but at the same time, it was super challenging when it happened. Like every time you just take the impact, you cry a little inside, and then what do? You turn around and say, "Okay, let's figure it
You
out."
can try in
So,
real life too. That's fine.
oh, I can now, I honestly, like the pressure of, you have shareholders, you have employees, you have partners, you have customers, you have distributors, you have all sorts of people, and they're all, you feel like they're all counting on you, and it's all on your shoulders. So crying, yeah, very briefly, time to figure out a solution, right?
Yeah.
And that's how we've been. So when the whole thing at the very end, when the whole thing was kind of collapsing, we were still holding to that thought. We were saying, okay, what's the way out? What's the
Yeah.
way out this time? Right. And always trying to figure out a way out. Our way out, and of our analysis, one of the way outs at that time was the burgeoning VR market, and
Yeah.
and the headsets that were coming out. And we tried to study that, and we realized at that point it was how are we gonna sell that? Like how are we gonna, like it's nascent, it's not
Sure.
even there, and how do we pivot and everything? And
Yeah.
at some point, honestly, Amélie, at that time, I was exhausted. I
Yeah.
was dead. I was completely dead inside. I'd
I
been
feel that.
fighting, oh, 16 years of grinding, fighting, pushing, signing deals, and, neglecting your health, neglecting your family, neglecting everything, right? And giving your everything inside that thing, and feeling responsible for the world. It was like, it was too much. And at that time I said, I choose, like, it wasn't even a choice. It was more of a, I, I, I can't do this anymore. I just can't.
Mm.
I need to survive. Personally, I need to survive.
And this
I was,
was before the shutting down. You already
yeah,
felt
it
like that.
was, yeah, well, I had felt like that for a number of years, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
grind and the fight
Mhm.
and the, like going to investors quarterly, them demanding, looking at your figures, how's your growth, why are you not growing, as fast as you said you would be growing, etc., etc. It's like, and the pressure and the insults. I mean, when you're a public company, it becomes very weird because you're suddenly a public figure.
Yeah.
So we can say anything about you. Like
Would you do it again?
game on, right? No,
Like go
never,
public?
never.
No.
Well, no, I say never. I would go public. I would just not be the CEO. I would
Sure.
resign. Like
How did
I
you go
maybe
from
chairman or something, but
yeah?
I wouldn't be CEO. No way.
How did you go from I'm a geek who's geeking out about tech to I'm the CEO of a public company? Like, did like is this like a thing that happened organically, or were you really intentional about this is where I'm going, like with your parents and this? No, but you know, how do you
Hey,
learn how to
I
do
wish
these things that you've never done? You know?
you learn, become, how do you become a parent? I would
Okay,
say
fair.
it's a very fair comparison.
Yeah,
You just, like, you can read the books, you can talk to friends, you can see the movies and all the documentaries and whatever, but nothing prepares you to be actually a parent, right?
yeah,
It's not the experience that you anticipated. It's completely different, and you have to learn on the fly. Like one of the things about being an entrepreneur or even becoming a public company CEO is that, no matter what people tell you, like living it is a completely
yeah,
different story. And y- like that's why it's so hard, because there's no, I mean, there are a few schools and a few universities and a few courses
sure,
left and right, and they can help you out, etc. But like nothing prepares you to being bullied, like having
Mm.
People like when we closed the shop, when we had to shut down, like I received death threats,
Yeah.
like literally on my cell
People who
phone,
lost
death
money.
threats. Yeah, they
Yeah.
feel like entitled to.
I
It's
had
like,
that too. And it's very weird how
are you
personal it got really
freaking
quick.
nuts? You're an investor. You took your risk. You gambled for return, but you were aware that there were risks. And now you're threatening my life? Like,
Mm.
really? And when you go through this process, it's like when you go through this process of being an entrepreneur and you lived it. I mean, you go through all these things and you learn by making mistakes. That's the only way to learn. But if
Yeah.
you're like an entrepreneur and you're driven, then you start, hurting yourself because you say, how can I make that stupid mistake? Oh, that was such a mistake. Oh, I'm so dumb or whatever, right? You can be very hard and very tough on yourself. But the reality is, this is how you learn. There is no other way to learn. There is no school for this. There is no other way than by learning by experience. And
Yeah.
therefore, you're going to make a lot of mistakes. So learn to live with the mistakes, learn to live with the uncertainty, learn to live without the control and knowing that, yeah, shit might go, shit might hit the fan and you might have to, pick it up and deal with it. But don't take it personally. Don't feel like it's because I'm bad. It's because I'm dumb. It's because I'm not experienced. It's because, no, it's because this is the nature of the game, right?
So
But
where do you
Emily,
draw
I
the
didn't.
line now?
You, by the way, I didn't know that you received death threats there as well. I mean,
I
how
mean,
did you react?
there was like one instance, and
Jeez.
yeah, it was like the whole thing happening at once. I mean, I think I briefly mentioned this. It was like the guy who also robbed me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He had his parents, his dad had a company or whatever, and his dad called me to threaten me. And he was like, "We're going to sue you for everything you own." And I was like, "Great. Well, I already filed for bankruptcy, so the lawsuit will be canceled right away." He's like, "No, I'm going to sue you personally. I know where you live, blah, blah, blah." And it was like this thing that his mom was there, and the guy, like, he attacked me, and the mom was on the phone filming the fight. And then it was this whole thing. And yeah. So my dad drove me around for a couple of days after that, and I would like get into my house through the back door because I, you know, scared
That's
shitless.
insane. But that's
Yeah.
insane. That's
And it
that's
was like
how,
for
I mean,
300,
when I
it
said
was
that,
like
yeah, go
less than
ahead. Sorry.
$2,000,
That's it. When I say that money is ugly, that's what I'm talking about. Like the entitlement of money. Like for
Mm,
anyone who seeks investor, be very, very careful. Like be extremely careful who you let into on your cap
yeah,
table, because some people, their true nature. I mean, I won't mention names, but even in my current venture right now,
yeah.
I was raising a pre-seed round and I was touring, and I was literally bullied by an investor. We had a misunderstanding on something, and a potential investor called me a liar and said, no matter what happened, you're the CEO, you're responsible, and therefore
Mm.
you're responsible for me not understanding, and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, okay, fuck you,
Maybe we're
bye.
not a good fit for each other, dude.
No, we're definitely not. And it's like, and feeling very comfortable in telling me in my face that
Yeah,
I'm a liar and that like I'm a super high principled guy. My values are my standard. It's like
yeah.
I live by them, right?
I mean, I
It's an
like this
absolute attack
sooner
on
rather
my
than later.
integrity. Hmm?
Yeah. I like to have these things that happen faster rather than. So at least
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
At least at that moment I knew that, okay, this, like, stay away,
Yeah.
Nick. Stay very far away. But that's the thing. There's a lot of myths and a lot of things about entrepreneurship, and myths about how you should be, how responsible you should be about everything. Yes, you should be very responsible as like you're getting people's money and hard earned money, and sometimes just hard, even if you think that it's a fund. Yeah, but they're not all big funds, especially in early, like, pre-seed rounds. Like
Yeah.
these guys, they struggle. They fight the same fight as entrepreneurs. They have to get the money, they have to get the LPs on
Oh
board,
yeah,
and
of course. And
right,
it's
it's not an
crazy
easy
right now.
job
Yeah.
for them either, right? And oh yeah, right now it's super brutal.
It's
So I mean, yeah, they share in that kind of struggle, and they need to make a return. But at the end of the
yeah.
day, it's about respect, right? And being able to talk with respect to people and people talking with respect to
I mean, and
with you.
not just
So,
investors. Like, I mean, in my
yeah,
case, it was a client, but like, I feel like, anybody. I think people don't realize how small of a world it is, because
it's ridiculous.
I
Yep.
have like another live with someone else next month. And I remember someone was like, "Oh, you know her how?" And then this person I plugged her with, then everybody knows everybody. So like, if you're an asshole, everyone's gonna know real fast.
It
Like
will happen.
Montreal is a big town, but not that big,
No, no, it's a village. Quebec in general, I mean, 7 million
Mm.
people or 8, 9 million people now. So, I mean, it's not that big. It's not even a small city in China. So, I mean, no, but it's ridiculous when you think about it. I mean, the fierce competition that we have globally, like people don't, like I feel like a lot of people don't travel that much, don't
Don't understand
realize,
the scale,
you
yeah.
know. I mean, I remember not too long ago, I was in China. It was said, what's the population of China right now? Is it like 1.3 or 1.4? Like which one it is? And I said, do you realize that the rounding error
Is
is three
huge.
times the population of Canada?
It's crazy, yeah.
Like, I mean,
It's crazy.
people don't realize how many brains are out there and how many people like DeepSeek. I think is a very good wake up call for a lot of people realizing that okay, China is not just about cheap products and all the myths. There's a new China coming up, and it's going to be really brutal and competitive. So, anyways, side note, I don't know why I went there, but it's something that like especially in the startup environment, people should be very very aware of. Let's
Mm.
be like being world class today is a very different story than being world class even 20 years ago and 10 years ago. It's a very big challenge.
Yeah. And I think that's a good point now to kind of, I mean, I wanted to talk to you about, the endeavors, or I mean, what you're working on now, and kind of, because
Oh
we,
yeah.
we talked about mental health a lot, like when we had lunch, and you said that this was, I mean, for the reasons you've mentioned earlier. But I think you've been also kind of really invested like in the startup community beyond, the companies that you're currently working on. Um,
Mm.
And so I was curious to see, because you said you raised a pre-seed round, so you're clearly like you're building again, and you're still
Oh
doing it.
yeah.
And I don't think there's a
Oh
point
yeah.
where you probably ever will stop. I mean, same for me. But like how do you draw the line? Like how do you take those learnings that you've had from before, and how does you apply that to what you're doing now? Like how are being a better
Oh,
entrepreneur, also just like taking care of yourself in that and not letting that kind of affect you at home also.
oh yeah. Well, that I'm still working on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's be honest. Like, well, so many things. Like for the last 8 years, after Sensio, what I've done is like I couldn't stop. I had to continue. I had to stay alive. And so what I did is I helped startups, and I started a consulting business, but really like with insanely generous terms like terms of payment that would last forever. And but the
Yeah.
idea was to say I want to help. I want to contribute. I want to give back, and I want to reduce like all the anxiety, especially for first time entrepreneurs. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that first time entrepreneurs don't know. They don't know that it's going to be tough. Like at the beginning, they don't know that it's going to be hard. Like they don't know that they're going to hit a wall at some point. Like
I think they don't
everybody hits a
understand just
wall.
how hard, because everyone says it's
How hard?
hard. No
Yeah,
one gets how hard it really is.
absolutely. The tough decisions as well, the mistakes that you're going to make. Like it's one thing. Like what I say about being an entrepreneur or a startup founder is like it's one thing to watch people play poker, but it's a
Mhm.
different thing to be on the table with your chips in and say, do I go all in? Like
Mm.
I've got a good hand, but like they got a really like they could have a really good hand. Like when you're on the side and you're
Yeah.
watching a poker tournament, it's a very easy thing to say, go all in, go all in. Yeah, but I earned that bot. Like, and now
Yeah, it's
maybe
like
it's
when
gonna
you
be
watch
gone.
people do quizzes like on
Yeah,
TV and you're like, you know the answer, but when it's you and there's like
your
this whole
turn.
pressure, you're terrible at it.
Absolutely, completely different story, completely different experience. So that's the thing about being an entrepreneur. For the last 8 years, I helping a lot of startups, helping them getting a lot of money, but more importantly to me helping them create the foundations of a solid business. Too many
Mhm.
people, and especially in the super bubble 2 3 years ago, like everybody could raise any kind of money and have a term sheet, and people were greedy, and entrepreneurs thought, oh yeah, it's obvious, I got it figured out, it's easy to
Yeah.
raise money. It's like, no, 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 this is a good time to raise money. Don't think that the next round is going to be that easy. And be sure that you have a real business. Don't try to go too fast. If you
Mhm.
haven't proven your assumptions, if you haven't proven your traction, if you don't get any, like if you're if the foundations are not solid, as soon as you're going to get to the next level, then it's going to hurt there, right? So let's build something solid, and every step of the way is going to be good. And most of the companies that I've worked with, I think my last time I checked was like 90% of the companies that I've worked with are still alive today and are still, some of them have
Mm.
exited, some of them have actually made money, are making money, and they're break even. And it's like, yes, companies, like real companies. And that's what, like, beyond the attraction of saying I'm a rock star, I'm raising money, I can make these press releases and the millions of dollars, and people think that I'm worth 150 million dollars, and now I'm worth I'm going to be the next unicorn. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of stress if your metrics are not following. It just means that people believe they're betting on you, doesn't mean that you've achieved yet. And be
Mm.
careful
Yeah.
on how fast you want this to happen, because you are raising the pressure level on your shoulders. So
And
be
I think,
ready.
yeah, people also mistake like the accomplishments of like fundraising for success.
Business accomplishments, like they're
Yeah,
they're like
you didn't build a
they're
business yet. Yeah.
completely uncorrelated. You can raise millions and millions and millions and end up boom, nothing. I mean, so many companies in the last 3 years have shut down. Not a lot have made the headlines because they're privately owned companies. A lot of companies have shut down recently. And what happens to these founders, right? Like the turnaround is not that fast. And especially if they're not prepared, if they don't have a little side money there, like
But
how do
people
you
don't talk
recycle
about it,
yourself?
you know,
No,
like,
you
and
don't.
that's kind of what bothers me to some extent, because like you were saying, oh, this press release and whatever, right? It's people do press release for the positive stuff, so you only see the positive things.
Yep.
And then you feel like having a business is like a celebration of, look, I took this private jet and went to F1 and this and that. And, like real life is kind of more, everything was shit today again. And then sometimes there
Yes.
are a few wins, but I like that. And by the way, if you have questions for Nick or me or
Mm.
both of us, feel free to, let us know in the comments and put like an emoji of some kind, so we can see them. And then there's Antoine Frechette, who says hello from,
Ah, hey, hey.
I don't know how to
Some of
pronounce
my
that.
guys.
Arbot
My
9.
my my last customers on the Mind Trick side, not the new venture. So love these guys. Really, really cool and really smart. Like
Um,
those are, this is the perfect example of a company that actually built something solid with solid foundations. It's a robotics company. These guys have raised from nothing to where they are today. They're actually, they built a new robotics technology, didn't raise a single dollar so far in
hmm,
investment. We're able to do it on government programs and sales, and these guys are
that's
now
cool.
cash flow positive. And on top of that, they have customers in major customers across Canada, but also
Yeah,
in Finland. I mean, it's crazy. But these guys took the time to build a solid company. They didn't take any shortcuts. They didn't raise like 10
yeah,
millions because we're revolutionizing the the no, they built a company. That's what we need today. People that build companies, not people that validate concepts. It's like, just go and build a company that solves real problem for real people.
mm. We're having a lot of interesting comments now. I guess I
Hmm?
had to tell people to put some comments, and we're having really
Sure.
good ones. I mean, Nelson, hey, Nelson's from Florida. We've been talking for a couple. Tommy, I think you know Tommy, do you? Tommy
Hmm?
says it's his first time here. Hopefully, he'll come back, and maybe I can have you on the show soon, Tommy. Warren, also, you're here. I would really love to have you on the show to talk about that store that you sold your business also. We were talking about exits that are not, Warren has a good story.
Oh,
I'm trying to
oh
convince.
yeah, very true, very true. Like everybody's your friend until
Yeah.
the end. So
Yeah.
I mean,
If
that's one
you
of the
have
things.
other pitches, because we just, I mean, you just pitched Antoine's company, but if other people
Oh,
here are like in the comments and they, we want to, I'm sure
that's
Antoine
me.
and Nicola can have a good feedback on stuff. What were we
Oh,
gonna say?
absolutely. But I mean, going back to why I started the company, I mean, after 8 years and why, and the kind of lessons that I took from, that I took with me in founding Cubic Space, it was, the one thing that I was scared of, by the way, I do see frequently a psychologist. I think it's healthy,
Mm,
and she
yeah.
helps me ground myself, and I talk freely about the issues that I'm facing and the patterns that I could be repeating. The biggest challenge that you have as an entrepreneur is not lying to yourself. It's
Of
being honest about how you feel, being
course.
honest about where you are. Sometimes you're scared to go there. Like
Yeah.
sometimes you're scared to say, I think my company is going to fail.
Mm.
And you say, no, 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 I'm going to make it work. No, 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 no. Explore that feeling. Okay. Why do you think you're going to fail? Like what? And dig down, dig deep. Don't be
Yeah,
afraid
the
of
thing where
going
you
to that
ask
negative
why.
space.
Yeah. A bunch
Yes,
of times you're
because
like, why,
asking yourself that
but why?
question,
And then eventually you get
and
to
then you
the,
eventually and say, oh, well, I can address that. And
yeah.
it's never as bad as you think. But
Mhm.
oftentimes we're dishonest about our feelings. We're dishonest about being tired, dishonest about being discouraged, dishonest even with people around. We want to project an image of everything is positive. Be honest. And every time you say no, if I'm negative, or if I'm talking about my uncertainties, people are going to think it's not going better. I'm not going to get any money, and I'm not going to get any customers. Wrong, wrong, and wrong. It depends. I mean, if you go, I'm completely desperate, yeah, maybe you're going to have a problem. But if you go openly and say, you know what, right now I'm challenged. Like I'm looking at this from this point of view. I see this,
But
that, and that. And you know what? I need like, what do you think? And you go honestly about it, you'd be extremely surprised of how willing people are to help you. And they don't think that you're weak or stupid or
yeah,
unable or etc. You have to be able to open up.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, Arlene is kind of, I think, echoing what you're saying. And there's like a couple of interesting comments and questions here. I know there's also, what's his name? The guy who's been Jake Carls, like from Midday Squares. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Mm.
They sell like chocolate. Um, and he is in business with his sister and her boyfriend or husband or something. So there's like three of them, and they're all like family-ish related. And he was saying that he goes to therapy regularly, but they also go to therapy, like the three of them, like a couple therapy kind of thing, for the exact purpose of kind of,
Oh yeah.
because like when you have a business with other people, like I don't think people understand how much of an intimate relationship that is. Like as far as just like the level of like my wife and I, like we talk to each other, but at night and stuff, like, we're not like always together all the time and have this insane monetary pressure of this building or business and employees and whatever. Right. And when I had my co-founder with my business, we would talk together all of the time. And to a point where my wife was like, it's weird because you talk to him a lot more than you talk to me, you know? And we would
Yes.
fight a lot more than I would fight with my wife as well, because just the nature of this business and figuring out how to fight and have those really hard conversations and just kind of being open with each other about those things that you're discussing, I think is like super, super important. And that's probably the biggest reasons why a company fails now, like is the kind of the team dynamic, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely.
therapy is
Because
insane.
well, because and especially because for most people it's their first time, right? So it's their first business, and they start something, and they believe that because they know the other person, they know them under that kind of pressure. Wrong, wrong. Like you don't even know yourself in that kind of pressure. Like the first time you start something like this, you think it's going to be hard. You have no idea how hard it is. And therefore you don't know your reactions to when that level
Yeah.
of pressure. I mean, I had an anxiety crisis at one point, when we were trying to figure out, it was earlier in the Sensio time, and I had an anxiety crisis because we had to figure out who was going to get paid and who was not going to get paid.
Like a panic attack,
And
you mean? Or
it's kind of a panic attack,
mm,
and I didn't know what it was at the time.
yeah.
I had to crouch in the hallway, I remember vividly, and I had to
Okay, like you
because
think you're having a
I
heart
was like
attack, basically.
I couldn't breathe. Like and I was like, I'm a guy who achieves everything. Like I've been successful in pretty much everything I've done.
Yeah.
I'm an overachiever, super positive guy, very positive attitude, an optimist, and all of a sudden I'm like that. How can that be, right?
Mm,
And well, I hadn't been put in that kind of situation before, and now I knew that okay, this is something that can happen to me. Like even nowadays, people are very open about mental health,
yeah,
and
a lot
and
more than we
this is
used to
what
be.
absolutely. But here's one of the dangers, or one of the insidious ways. Like everybody's like, I give a presentation to a group, a pharma company, and I mentioned, I said, like, who's like, all of you, you're very aware of mental health, right?
Yeah.
And the issues. They say, yeah, yeah, yeah. But how many amongst you are saying, yeah, I'm very open to other people's challenges with mental health, but I'm
Mm,
fine, right? Everybody's sensitized about everybody else's mental health or well-being issues, but they say, no, no, I'm okay. No, you're not okay. Like you're like, there's a very good tool that's the baromètre de la santé mentale or something like that by the you can find that on the web. It's very, very
mm,
good, and it gives you the signs of where you're at, like what's your temperature from green to red. Like red is panic,
mm.
but red, yellow, orange, and or
Yeah, yeah.
green, orange,
In
and
whatever order they should be.
so yeah, well, let's try to make it the right order. But at the end of the day, when you see that, is that like a lot of people will recognize it and say, I've got to be weary about my employees' well-being.
Hmm.
But then, they will ask of themselves things that they would never
Yeah,
ask of anybody.
yeah.
Like, would you ask that
Chantal
from your
here was
employees?
saying the same thing,
Never.
right? Like
Mhm.
you need to take care of
Oh yeah,
yourself so you can take care of other people. Like if you're
totally
super
right.
stressed,
Not that.
employees can tell.
Totally right. And your family, right? It
Yeah.
bleeds into your team, but your family as well. You come back home stressed, and like the different levels of stress. Like you're stressed out, so you go home and your
You're more
spouse
impatient with
says,
your kids
"Oh,
and you're
I'm
not as
so stressed
available.
because we haven't yet planned the family vacation, and the dates are coming closer, and the prices are gonna go up." And said, that's a stress. Do you want to know what a real
Yeah.
stress is? Right? You come up, and that's how you feel. And if you're honest to yourself, you will realize that's your reaction. But the people that are with you before
Mm,
you made the choice of going in business, they didn't sign up for that, right?
yeah.
And you did. And realizing that maybe my stress level is too high, and maybe I should not diminish my spouse's stress and
Mhm.
dismiss it. I should probably, do something about it. That's super important. Super, super important. But anyways, very, very quickly back on, because I don't want to lose that one. But one of the things that I was really weary about when I started working on the next generation of 3D algorithms, and it's, I realized that, at some point I had to ask myself and be honest with myself once again, and ask myself the question, why am I doing this? Like, why am I going back there? Like, why am I setting myself up in a
Yeah.
startup world? And especially in 3D. And I was
What's the
like,
answer?
well, I love it.
Okay.
I love it. I actually love what I'm doing. I'm the first customer of my product. I think that's
Mm.
always very important. You cannot always be your customer, but you should be,
Oh, I see what
like,
you're
you
saying.
should you should kind of love what
Scratch your
you're
own
like.
itch.
Exactly, because then you know what you're doing. Then you know that yeah, this is going to work. This people are going to like this, or our customers are going to, you can relate to the problem and relate to the pain of your customers. So I think that was important. So I love what I'm doing. I love 3D, and I love being an entrepreneur. But I defined my journey. Like this
Yeah.
is sometimes we when you ask people, it's all about the journey, not the destination. And you ask people, what's your destination? Well, in 5 years, I want to be this, and I want an exit in 7, and these are the companies that, okay. And what do you want your journey to be? Zzz.
Yeah.
if it's about the journey, how come your destination is so defined, but your journey is not?
Mm,
What do
yeah.
you want your journey to be? Do you want to travel a lot? Do you want to be like, you could be a workaholic and say, you know what? I want to work like crazy because I love the whatever I do, right? So maybe it's that. Maybe you want to travel a lot. Maybe you want to do conferences. Maybe you want to just stay in do your research because you're a research person. You don't care about sales and you don't, well, you know what? You should find somebody that's going to help you with sales. And you should like, don't try to be everything to everyone. You're very good at something and you excel in that, maximize your potential in that thing, find complementary forces so that you're not spending all your journey doing things that you hate because you think that that's what needs to be done to be successful.
Mhm. I have there's a few comments that I just wanted to look at because we were talking
Hmm.
about, I mean, a few people kind of shared also their, the mental health thing and how that was really interesting. And I mean, Nelson had another comment about, being customer number one. And I feel like I've also really related to that because all my business is starting from things I wanted to do. Um,
I like
there's
this. It's a cheat code. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, there's something interesting here. Question that's related to something we were talking about earlier about the finance, about like building ideal investor profile for your company and how to know what you should be looking for. And I don't know if you want to touch on that, but I think for me, the number one thing is really like human fit, like beyond and
Yes.
everything else. Like, and that's becoming more and more of a rule for me now because I mean, I don't have the pretension to have the experience that you've had or as much experience as you've had either. I'm slightly younger, but I think I've also been doing this long
Thank you
enough.
for the slightly.
I've also been doing this long enough now that I've gotten to a point where I kind of had these realizations also. And it's like, of all my investors, the one, and that applies to everything, right? The clients I've had the most fun working with are the clients that I do happen to get along with. And people that I don't work with, like, they don't pay me to work with them anymore, but we still talk because we kind of
Yeah.
just gotten used to each other and we kind of became friends. And this is the most fun I've had working with those kind of people. And same for investors, and I mean, I think investors beyond everything else, right? Because you want someone who cares about you as a human being. And
Yeah.
I've had investors who have voiced their concerns over the business model I had and said, but I'm going to invest anyway because I want to invest in you, And there's like a dichotomy of like investments and what people see on TV and what it really is. And I think early stages, like before Series A and stuff, it's always about like the team and like the people. And then there's like a point where you're at Series C and they're like, well, you have a product market fit and you have this ability to make money and we're investing in the machine more than we're investing in the people at that point, right?
Yeah.
But that takes a really long time to get there. And like you also have to understand like an investment is like a 7 to 10 year thing, right? Do you see
Oh
yourself
yeah.
talking to that person regularly for that long? Like if you
You're
don't want
you're
to
so
talk to
right.
them, don't get their money.
I totally agree with you. Like this is one of the three big ones. Like what you said, personal fit. If you don't have that, don't even try. Because I mean, it's easy and fun in games when things are starting and it's all about prospects and possibilities. But at every layer is going to be a new challenge. You get product market fit, then you start being successful, then a competitor comes in and cuts you off, and then you have to react, right? So is the investor going to put more pressure on you and going to be pointing fingers and asking you for answers, or is the investor going to be alongside with you to try and work the problem out, right? And you can feel that from the personal fit that you have with a company. The second one that I think is really important is the investment thesis from the
Yeah.
fund. Like, try to find a fund that's really into your sector. Because they will understand it. They might have different opinions and whatever, but at least they will get this space. And if they
I mean,
we that's an issue
angels
here
too, right?
because we have a lot of generalists
Yeah.
in Quebec and in Canada. We have a lot of generalist fund, but you do have people that get the market, and let them make their homework and see around, because if they don't understand your sector, I mean, they're gonna They're going to generally broadly believe in you, but your lead investor should get your sector, should know about what you're doing. He's the one who's going to do the due diligence, but on top of that, he's the one who's going to be able to validate in the market, and it's going to truly believe in what you're doing. Third, they have to believe in the vision.
Yeah.
Like the vision is extremely important. If people don't buy into the vision, and it's very important to define the vision. Like our bet is that the world is going to be like this in 5 years. Like in the near future, the
Mhm.
world is going to be like this,
Yeah.
and this is where we fit in that world. And if people don't buy into that, just move along, move along.
Yeah.
Because if you're trying to convince people that this is actually going to happen, I mean, this is a big leap of faith, and it's going to suck all your energy and all your life force to try and get them on board of that. So, like, it's a numbers game with investors. Call a lot of people and figure these things out. But like the last thing that you should do is say, "Well, that's the only one that's out there, so I have no choice but to take it." That's really not
Yeah.
a good
I did
decision at all.
that.
Yeah, well, we all make that mistake at some point. We all
Yeah,
do.
dude, I was 23. I needed the money and I had nothing to lose.
The
So I
money's
was like,
there.
you have
Yes.
money? Thank you.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, there's a question here. I mean, Arlene, I think I would need more context because you're saying you're giving me she posted another comment after saying, would you seek funding?
Mhm.
I think I would need to know what it is first, because like you're telling me about market size. And for me, market size, it depends like what you're trying to do. I think if there's a world where you could do it without fundraising, do that and bootstrap it. More and more, I think the other thing I'm trying to tell people as much as I can is because, again, people think fundraising is glamour and everything. For me, I think it's like
Yeah.
fundraising is a full-time job. It's miserable. There's no fun in fundraising. I don't know who said
No.
that. Someone said that to me. It's not fun. It's miserable. Okay. It's
It
the
is.
worst thing you're ever going to do as a CEO. And
Well,
it's going
getting
to,
rejected 100 times is not like
well, then
necessarily
you also lose
the greatest
control.
thing.
You don't get to do
Mm,
whatever you want.
yeah.
Um, and once you start fundraising, you can't stop. That's the other thing. You fundraise
Yep.
once, and then you have to do it until you sell. So if you're still here, Arlene, and you want to give us more context on the business, I'm sure Nick would have interesting ideas on that. Unless you want to piggyback on what I said, or if you have more to add that I've missed.
Well, no, I mean, all I see is the comment here, and what I would do if I had these kinds of numbers. Well, usually I would say that's typical startup numbers. Like we all come up with, like, we have huge time Samsung, and it's realistic, and we're going to get there, right? It's all fun, and like this gives you a strong basis to have a thesis to start addressing a VC. So because they won't look at you if you don't have these kinds of numbers. So but I wouldn't say that it's exciting. It's a check
Yeah, it's
on
one of
on
the
the
steps.
list of things, right? Is that okay? So she's got a big enough market, so she has a chance of being a
Mhm.
unicorn. So check. But what's far more important than that is always traction, even if it's one customer, if it's two customers that validate the thesis, that validate whatever you're doing, that are able to say, this is why I picked them, and that resonates with the pain that you've identified, and you can make the link with the other ones. Then what the investors are going to do is just kind of pick up the phone, call a few friends that they have in the industry, and say, is that true? Like, is this, like,
Yeah,
is this really a game changer? And that's what's going to resonate. So if you have zero customers and you have these kinds of numbers, you're like any other
yeah,
startup that has a very weak chance of actually getting any money, because everybody says that they have a tam samsung that are very, very impressive.
Mhm.
I'm not, and I mean, I don't know your company, I don't know you, and I don't want to like minimize, but I'm telling you from the point of view of what these guys receive all the time and how they might react to this.
Yeah,
But I need a lot more information to go to be able to
yeah,
directly
yeah.
give you
I mean, look,
an answer.
she just said, I think she's getting it. She got that what we're saying. But that's cool. And I mean, again, Arlene, we were supposed to talk, and I think we missed each other last week. But ping me, and we could continue that conversation privately if you want. I mean, that's super interesting, and I like that people are kind of pitching us business ideas and stuff. That's kind of cool. It's like the Dave Ramsey show when people are like calling with their money problems.
You got a nice setup going, Emily. Honestly, I like
Unexpected, yeah. I mean, this is fun. I'm really having a lot of fun. See that you didn't know you were going to do that today, so I kept
no,
like
no,
surprise
no
element.
idea. So I like the experience so far.
Yeah, I mean, we have like, and we've been trending. I mean, we're like an hour in, and we have like, we've been averaging 15 to 20 people at any given point during the live, which is, I mean, I'm really happy with. I'm really surprised that we have that many people coming and listening to us rambling for an hour during lunch. So, and I know you have like other things after, and I
Yeah.
don't want to keep everybody for the rest of the day. Although I'm sure we could keep going for a couple of more hours.
Oh,
But
for sure.
yeah, do you have like any kind of closing remarks or things that you wanted to bring up that we didn't really
Well,
touch on?
Uh, no, but well, the only thing I would say is that like the one thing that I think the one comment I would say is when you do this, figuring out your why, like what a Simon Sinek says or whatever. Like having a real
Yeah,
reason why you do this is extremely important because it anchors you when things starts going bad. The why keeps you going because it can bring you back to what you wanted, but also remember why you started that journey and what you wanted in your journey. Very, very important. Ask
yeah,
yourself the question, what is my life going to be, and do I want my life to be like this, and why did I quit my job, why did I quit that comfortable little cocoon of money and safety and advantages and
yeah,
vacations and holidays and like why did I switch to the entrepreneurial life? Write it down. Write it down. Take the time to write it down and revisit it every once in a while because these are things that are going to anchor you in your journey and
yeah.
remind you of why you're doing things and will help you go through the tough patches. So very, very important. Every day I'm happy with what I'm doing. And it's not because it's easy. It's hard. What I'm doing right now is super, super hard, right? Finding customers, like my customers, potential customers are the Apples and the Metas and the
Yeah.
HTCs. I mean, they're big companies that have tons of resources and can try to circumvent me and cut me off. And like the sales cycle is super long, but I know it's
Mhm.
hard. Like I knew
Yeah,
from the get go, I'm not getting discouraged. I'm not getting because I knew why I know I'm doing this and I'm happy every day that
of
I'm
course.
making progress.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm glad to hear that. Um, I think we're gonna. I just want to say before we're going, I'm just gonna drop in the link in the comments, the link to next month's episode of we're having Manon Simiel, who is also super interesting, and I'm really excited about. And I'm really glad, Nick, that you were willing to do this with me. I also have
Absolutely.
a
Thanks for the invitation.
yeah. I mean, and I love how you were just like, I'm at CS. Yes, let's figure out the details later.
Of course.
I love your blind enthusiasm. You're like, I don't know what I'm signing up for. Let's just do this.
Well, I'm kind of a mirror, Amelie. Huh? Just saying.
No, that's great. Like, we need more people who are just like, let's go. I'm down for whatever.
Very cool.
Well, I really appreciate you. Thanks for coming, guys, and we'll see you next month for another episode. It's on February 27th, I believe, if I'm not saying stupid things. Cool.
All
Okay.
right.
Well, have a good day.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Ciao.